morning, everyone, and welcome to the 84th anniversary commemoration of the destruction of Lidice. My name is Irina Čajková, and I'm honored to serve as your MC today on behalf of the TG Masaryk Czech School. We are grateful to have you all here as we gather to remember the men, women, and children of Lidice to honor their memory. And we will start the program with the presentation of colors. Please rise for the presentation of colors by American Sokol Guard Stráž under the direction of Teddy Polášek.
Post. There. Post. What? What? Post. I pledge allegiance to the flag
of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Please remain standing for the national anthems presented by the United Moravian Singers and Assembly.
Zemský ráj to na pohled, a to je ta krásná země, země česká, domov můj, země česká, domov můj. Na Tatrou sa blízka hromy divobíju, na Tatrou sa blízka hromy divobíju. Zastavme ich, bratia, veď sa oni, stratia Slováci ožijú. Zastavme ich, bratia, veď sa oni, stratia Slováci ožijú. Oh, say, can you see by the dawn's early light what so proudly we hailed at the twilight's last gleaming, whose broad stripes and bright stars through the perilous fight o'er the ramparts we marched, were so gallantly streaming, and the rocket's red glare, the ones bursting near, gave proof through the night that our flag was still there. Oh, say does that star-spangled banner yet
Please be seated.
Right away, please.
Again, it is my honor to welcome you all at the Lidice Memorial here in Crest Hill on behalf of the TG Masaryk Czech School. This is the second year that our school had the privilege to organize this commemoration. Last year, we stepped into this role for the first time, and then we quickly realized how much work goes into making this ceremony happen. What we did not yet fully understand was that that work does not begin a few days before the event. It continues throughout the year. And for that reason, I would like to begin expressing our sincere gratitude to the Czechoslovak American Congress, which faithfully stewarded this commemoration for many decades and ensured that the memory of Lidice remained alive in our community. I would also like to thank the city of Crest Hill, and especially Alderman Tina Oberlin, for watching over this memorial and ensuring that the city continues to support this ceremony year after year. Over the past several days, Tina has spent countless hours at the memorial, and I know from our text message conversation that she actually brought her toothbrush here to scrub the monument and the benches in the park. Our thanks also go to the entire City of Crest Hill crew, public works people, the sound people. Thank you so very much for preparing the site for today's ceremony. And finally, I must thank our dear friend and supporter, Rob Kernick-Carter. Rob, could you please stand up? Rob has taken on the role of the unofficial keeper of the garden, and he generously supports the maintenance of the park. And you can often find him here himself, tending to roses, pulling weeds, and making sure that the memorial remains a place worthy of those it honors. Without Tina and Rob, this memorial would not look nearly as beautiful as it does today, and we are deeply grateful for their dedication, generosity, and countless hours of service. So please join me in thanking them. As we gather here today to remember the victims of Lidice, we also remember why places like this memorial matter. They remind us that history is something we carry forward through remembrance, through community, and through our commitment to ensuring that such tragedies are never forgotten. So thank you all again for being here today and for helping us keep the memory of Lidice alive. And I now invite the American Sokol Guard Straž and representatives of participating organizations to present wreaths at the memorial. And accompanying the wreath presentation will be music dedicated to Lidice, composed by Mr. Otto Dolansky, who is also here with us today. Mr. Dolansky, could you please wave?
Remember Lidice, just torn apart. Remember Lidice, deep in our hearts. Remember Lidice, so long ago. Remember Lidice, we love you so. remember Lidice, though years gone by. Remember Lidice, memories don't die.
Thank you. Just weeks after the destruction of Lidice, on June 10, 1942, developer Dominic Romano decided to rename his new Stern Park development, Lidice, in honor of the village and its people. On July 12th, so a month later, 1942, the memorial was dedicated by presidential candidate Wendell Willkie. And the following year, in 1943, President-in-exile Edvard Beneš attended the commemoration here. Our guests today are no less distinguished, and we are honored to welcome them to the Lidice Memorial. I would like to ask for words of greetings. First, Alderman Tina Oberlin.
Well, good morning, everyone, and thank you all for turning up on such a beautiful day. God gave us a beautiful day again, and thank you for that. But our wonderful representative, Natalie Manley, could not make it this year, and she did something else since she couldn't be here. She had a resolution passed through the State of Illinois House of Representatives 104th General Assembly. So she asked me if I would please read that in lieu of my usual speech. So I'd like to read that to you, please. House Resolution number 933, offered by Representative Natalie A. Manley. Whereas the members of Illinois House of Representatives wish to commend the city of Crest Hill on the occasion of the 84th anniversary of the dedication of the Lidice Memorial, and whereas Lidice was a small Czechoslovakian village located in the region of Bohemia and Moravia, formerly occupied by Nazi Germany during World War II, and whereas Reinhard Heydrich, a high-ranking Nazi official, was killed as a result of a top-secret British and Czechoslovak operation in June 1942. And whereas, in retaliation for the assassination and as a result of false accusations leveled against two local families, Nazi dictator Adolf Hitler ordered the total annihilation of Lidice as collective punishment on June 9, 1942, and whereas on that evening, Nazi forces entered Lidice, separating the men and boys over the age of 15 from the women and remaining children. The 173 men and boys were held in farm buildings, and at 7 a.m. on June 10th were shot by an execution squad in groups of 10. And whereas an additional 20 townspeople were rounded up from work and sent to Prague, Czechoslovakia, where they were executed at a shooting range. And whereas the women of Lidice, I'm trying to say it the right way, sorry, were shipped to the Ravensbrück concentration camp, the largest concentration camp for women within Germany's pre-war borders, where they endured forced labor, medical experimentation, and execution in gas chambers. And whereas the children of Lidice suffered a harrowing fate, being deported to Lodz, Poland, to be evaluated for potential Germanization under Nazi racial laws. 9 children were selected for Germanization through the Lebensborn program, while approximately 80 other children deemed unsuitable were brutally murdered, believed by historians to have been executed in a gas chamber at the Chelmno Killing Center. The 14 youngest infants and babies were placed in orphanages, with only 8 of them surviving the war. And whereas the entire village and landscape of Lidice was plowed flat by the Nazis, and its destruction was broadcast to the world as propaganda. And whereas Adolf Hitler's attempt at total elimination instead transformed Lidice and the story of its people into an international symbol of resistance against Nazi brutality and depravity that endures to this day. And whereas just 2 days after the horrific brutality against the people of Lidice began, Dominic Romano, developer of which was then known as Stern Park Subdivision, became the first person in the world to rename his development after Lidice in honor of the martyred village, dedicating it on July 12, 1942, establishing a monument, and later rededicating it during a visit by exiled Czechoslovakian President Edvard Beneš in May 1943. And whereas the town of Lidice, Illinois, was incorporated into the city of Crest Hill in 1960, establishing an enduring bond as Lidice's sister city. And whereas, following the destruction of the original monument by vandals in 1995, a larger granite monument, plaza, and park were built through the generosity of the Czechoslovakian American Congress and global donations, and the memorial was subsequently enhanced through the multi-generational volunteerism of Crest Hill mayors and elected officials, local businesses, Eagle Scouts, and civic organizations. And whereas, in unity with the Park of Peace and Friendship in Lidice, Czech Republic, the city of Crest Hill planted 82 rose bushes to mirror the village's 1,000 of roses, explicitly honoring the memory of the 82 innocent children of Lidice who were slain. And whereas, located at Hosmer Lane and Prairie Avenue, the Lidice Memorial stands today as a jewel of Crest Hill and as a vital destination stop for visitors along U.S. Route 6, serving as a critical demonstration of unity and resistance to tyranny for Czechoslovakians, veterans, Jewish people, and the many peoples who suffered under Nazi depravity. Therefore, be it resolved by the House of Representatives of the 104th General Assembly of the State of Illinois that we commend the city of Crest Hill on the 84-year anniversary of the dedication of the Lidice Memorial, and we express our deepest gratitude to Crest Hill and its residents for their multi-generational dedication to maintaining such a worthy, globally recognized endeavor, and be it further resolved that we urge remembrance of the martyred village of Lidice by Illinoisans, Americans, and people across the world as a moment in history that should never be forgotten, and be it further resolved that a suitable copy of this resolution will be presented to Mayor Raymond R. Solomon of the city of Crest Hill as a symbol of our esteem and respect. Adopted by the House of Representatives on May 27, 2026, John Holloman, Clerk, and Emmanuel Welch, Speaker of the House. So, thank you, Natalie Manley, for doing this. And I was honored to read this. This park holds such a great treasure to me personally, not just for what it stands for, but for my own youth. And with my last breath, I will be here helping with it. So thank you all, and have a wonderful day.
Thank you so much, Tina. And I would now like to welcome the mayor, Ray Solomon.
Good morning, and welcome to all of our distinguished officials behind me, and welcome to the city of Crest Hill, all of our distinguished friends and guests in the audience today. It's great to see so many people here on a gorgeous day. So with all of the tragedies going on in the United States and throughout the world, especially with the atrocities still happening in Ukraine, we certainly want to offer our prayers to the people of Ukraine. There are many similarities of what is happening today in Ukraine and what occurred at Lidice on June 10th, 1942. Both groups have shown an unbelievable amount of strength, courage, and resilience. And at this time, I think it would be appropriate that we offer a moment of silent prayer and a moment of silence for a quick resolution to the end of this conflict. Thank you. It is my honor and privilege as the mayor to welcome you to the city of Crest Hill. Your presence here today displays an overwhelming amount of support, honor, and remembrance for those who perished at Lidice in the atrocities of June 10th, 1942. We as a city are proud to have this beautiful memorial garden in our city. We as a city are proud to be one of the only 2 memorials to honor and remember the tragedy of Lidice in the United States. We extend our sincerest gratitude for the sacrifices that you make to continue this tradition to honor and memorialize those who have died. We thank you for your commitments and your efforts to pass these traditions on to the next generation. It has been great to see the young people participate in this ceremony for the last several years. It is because of your commitment and your dedication that these young people will carry on this tradition, and it is because of this next generation that the memory of those who perished in 1942 will never be forgotten, and Lidice will continue to live. We as a city are proud to be part of the Czechoslovakian cultures and traditions. As we gather today to commemorate the 84th anniversary of this memorial, your passion, your commitment, your dedication, and your loyalty has not wavered. What a tremendous tribute and honor you have made and continue to make to those who have died. For 84 years, this community, and now this city of Crest Hill, has displayed an unwavering passion, commitment, dedication, and loyalty to the memory of the residents of Lidice. As the city of Crest Hill continues to grow and prosper, so does this Lidice monument and garden. I am forever grateful for all of our past, present, and future city employees and volunteers for all of their commitment and hard work in maintaining this beautiful garden, restoring the monument and their vigilance to the memory of Lidice. Our traditions of the past are a direct bond to our present and to our future. We meet here today to never forget those who gave their lives at the hands of Nazi oppression. The atrocities committed at Lidice are a perfect example of good always triumphing over evil and right always prevailing over wrong. We will continue to remember and proclaim that Lidice lives, words inscribed on our original monument. I not only welcome you to the city of Crest Hill today, but every day. Our city is your city. Please feel free at the conclusion of today's ceremony to walk through the garden, to enjoy its beauty and honor the village of Lidice and all its past and present residents. May God bless Czechoslovakia, the city of Lidice. May God bless the city of Crest Hill. May God bless the United States of America. And God bless each and every one of you today for being here. Thank you.
Please now welcome Mr. Karel Pažourek, the Deputy Consul General of the Consulate of the Czech Republic here in Chicago.
Good morning, ladies and gentlemen, honored guests, dámy a pánové. We are here today to not to simply read from a past or closed history book. 84 years ago, the Nazis massacred Lidice, as you were told by Madame Alderman here. For many Czechs, the date of June 10, 1942 is not past tense. It's a living transgenerational trauma, a profound psychological scar carried silently through bloodlines until now, and it will be carried even in the future because it takes some 7 generations actually to heal from these traumas. On that day, the world witnessed an act of barbarity that would forever alter the landscape of human conscience and international law. The Nazi regime did not merely destroy the Czech mining village of Lidice. They wanted to intimidate and basically scare the population of the occupied country and break the resistance and show the power to the rest of the world. So they chose to proudly broadcast a report on the massacre. The German Nazis had tried to hide these genocidal crimes until then, so they falsely announced that the children of Lidice had been sent for re-education. And you were explained what the re-education actually meant. Horrible. Because publicly declaring that 90% of them were murdered in gas vents would have been too much even for them that time. And just remember that genocide factory in Auschwitz was only slowly getting actually going by then. Only 10,000 victims had been murdered there out of the later 6 millions by the time that Lidice were actually annihilated and most of the inhabitants killed, barbarically killed. So they were not ashamed to officially announce the slaughter of every man and boy from Lidice over the age of 16. It was broadcasted. There was even like a newsreel, before the main movies. They were not ashamed to announce the deportation of women and a literal erasure of the village from the map. They were really precise in doing this. So what they did, they publicly provided the first implicit, undeniable proof of their own genocidal nature. An eye-opener for the democratic world, which undoubtedly supported the determination to defeat these barbarians. And so I dare to say that the end of Lidice actually helped to end the war, helped actually to unite democratic powers against Nazi regime. Consequently, Lidice became the definitive precedent used to demonstrate the absolute necessity for an entirely new concept of international law. Before the war, the legal framework was painfully unequipped to name such horrors, and Lidice changed that. Lidice compelled international law to define genocide and crimes against humanity. The word genocide started only after Lidice and because of Lidice. During the Nuremberg trials, the Nazis' own meticulously recorded footage and official announcement of the massacre served as unquestionable proof for the prosecution that these atrocities were not the random excessive of rogue soldiers, as it was explained by many, and as this is happening actually to be explained by many until now in different yet similar conflicts. But they were actually an officially state-directed policy of terror against defenseless civilian population. Something similar is happening in Ukraine, actually, since 2022, sorry. Let me quote parts of the Geneva Conventions directly inspired by Lidice. No protected person may be punished for an offense he or she has not personally committed. Collective penalties and likewise all measures of intimidation or of terrorism are prohibited. This was a fresh law. Lidice basically caused the law to happen and to be adopted. The stolen children of Lidice, who were mentioned here, ripped from their mothers and fathers to be forcefully assimilated or murdered, compelled international law to explicitly codify that the forced transfer of children from one group to another is a specific, undeniable act of genocide. The fates of a handful of Lidice children who were small enough, blonde enough, and blue-eyed enough for Nazis to let them live and have them adopted and Germanized by German families, so that some of them would then be reunited with their mothers after the war, would make for a Hollywood movie. But let me mention one similar story. In Europe, the United States has repeatedly played the role of Deus ex machina, the decisive force entering the scene of human suffering to tip the scales back towards the freedom and humanity. Thanks, America, for that, really. World War I, World War II, we will never forget. But the United States has not only helped save Europe on the battlefield, it has served for decades, even centuries now, as a vital refuge. It has served as a safe haven and hopeful new world for many. There are 1.3 million people of Czech descent living in the United States just now. A large part of them in Midwest. In fact, my grandfather's school atlas from 1905, their Chicago was listed as the second largest Czech city right after Prague. So many Czechs were living in Chicago at that time. So many Czech souls came here for a new hope. I have always had a deep respect for those who dared to take such a step. Many of them must have played out various what-if scenarios in their minds for sure. But for the most part, their decisions have proven to be far-sighted. It certainly was far-sighted for the ancestors of the person here, whom I admire for her dedicated work as a council member in Cedar Rapids. And it's my profound honor to welcome here and meet Miss Ashley Vanoni. Ashley, your presence here today is a profound testament to the twist of fate and survival. Your ancestors made the brave choice to leave everything they knew and cross the ocean in 1866 and built a new home in the United States. At the time, they could not have known the full weight of their decision. They were simply seeking a better life, probably. But by crossing that ocean, they saved your family's future. And because the village they left behind, the soil that bore your family roots, was Lidice. Considering the fate of the children of Lidice torn from their homes, Ashley's professional involvement in tackling crimes against children, and particularly her non-profit work regarding children in foster care, seems highly symbolic to me. Ashley's story is a beautiful proof that human spirit and effort always win. Lidice lives, as it was told several times before here, and this is the truth. Lidice lives in the resilience of all people facing aggression and tyranny, and also in the descendants of those who found new hope in this new world. Thank you very much.
I won't then present Councilwoman Ashley Vanoni again, but I would like to welcome her now to the podium to tell her story of Lidice.
Dobrý den. It is an honor to join you today as we gather for this wreath-laying ceremony to remember the people of Lidice and to reaffirm our commitment to ensuring that their story is never forgotten. I stand before you not only as a council member from Cedar Rapids, a city shaped by Czech and Slovak immigrants who brought with them their language, traditions, faith, and determination, but also as a descendant of Lidice. For me, this remembrance is both public and deeply personal. The story of the Van Orny family begins in 1866 with Karl Van Orny and Marie Havorka. At that time, Czechoslovakia was ruled by Austria, resulting in a loss of most religious and political freedoms. The oppression of their patriotism and culture led many Czech people to seek freedom and a new way of life in other lands. Among these people was the family of Karl Van Orny, my ancestors. Karl and his family lived in Lidice, where he and his family were farmers raising corn, wheat, and potatoes. They had been married for 17 years and had 2 children, Joseph and Charles. Realizing conditions would not improve, Karl paid a neighbor to take he and his family to Prague by carriage. From there, Karl hoped to travel by train to the Atlantic Ocean and then by boat to the United States. Since there was no war, the Austrians were reasonable about giving permission to leave the country. After minor difficulties, Karl and his family were aboard a train to Bremen, a town in northwest Germany on the Atlantic Ocean coast. It was a 400-mile journey, and finally the Van Orny family arrived at Bremen. After a few days, during which they underwent a medical examination, vaccination, and questioning, a boat came into port. Using the gold and silver he had received from selling his property, Karl paid the boat fare to the United States. Conditions on the boat were cold, dirty, and crowded, but as they sailed across the Atlantic, the immigrants were excited and hopeful of new beginnings in their new home. Everything went well until a fatal contagious disease broke out on the boat. Many became ill and few died. Among these was Marie, Carl's wife. Marie was wrapped in a gunny sack and given a proper burial at sea. In deep sorrow, but realizing he must continue his plan to settle in the United States, Carl did his best to comfort the boys as much he could. After almost 2 months, the boat arrived at New York City Harbor, and there before the immigrants' eyes stood the majestic Statue of Liberty, symbolizing a free land. No immigration laws existed yet to make entrance into the United States difficult, and able workers were welcome. Hearing that the most fertile and available farmland was in the Midwest, Carl and the boys took a train and traveled westward, eventually coming to Cedar Rapids. Carl found that other Bohemians had settled nearby, and he decided that this would be the ideal place for his homeland. The land that Carl registered for and purchased is now a century farm that my family still lives on today. In June of 1942, the world witnessed an act of unimaginable cruelty. In retaliation for the assassination, Nazi forces erased the village of Lidice from the map. It is not lost on me that those impacted were family friends and once neighbors who stayed behind when my family sought out after hope for a better life. Yet Lidice was not erased. Instead, Lidice has become a symbol recognized around the world, not only of the devastating consequences of hatred and tyranny, but of resilience, dignity, and the enduring strength of human memory. Communities across the globe have pledged that Lidice would live on. They understood that remembrance is itself an act of resistance against those who seek to erase others. As a descendant of this village, carrying that legacy is both a profound honor and a solemn responsibility. It means understanding that I am connected to people whose lives, dreams, and futures were stolen, but whose humanity could never be taken away. It means ensuring that future generations know their names and their stories. And it means standing firmly against intolerance, anti-Semitism, and hatred in all its forms. In 2024, thanks to the Czech Embassy and Ambassador Staszek, I was able, after 5 generations, to be the first Van Orny to return to our village, hosted by Mayor Kellerova. Once I arrived, I understood why my family had chosen Iowa, because I felt home again. In Cedar Rapids, we celebrate the contributions of Czech and Slovak immigrants who helped to build our community. Their perseverance and devotion to family, culture, and democracy continue to shape who we are today. For descendants like me, remembering Lidice is not simply about looking back at history. It is about honoring the values of compassion, courage, and justice that must guide us forward. Today, we remember the innocent lives lost. We honor the survivors and the descendants who carry this history with them, and we reaffirm a promise that the people of Lidice will never be forgotten. In Cedar Rapids, we have a saying that welcome is our language, and I am so grateful for all of those who welcomed us when we were seeking out a new way forward. May the memory of Lidice continue to inspire us to defend human dignity, to reject hatred wherever it appears, and to build communities rooted in peace and understanding. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Councilwoman Van Orny, for sharing your personal story with us. One of the most heartbreaking aspects of Lidice tragedy is the fate of its children. And today, the students of the T.G. Masaryk Czech School will help us remember them through poetry. I would like to ask to come up here our current and former students, Kajla Cabejšek, Klárka Šebestíková, and Ella and Oliver Vacek. They prepared a poem, the Czech and the English version, a recent translation into English. Poem by Josef Čapek. You might know the name Karel Čapek, the author of the well-known play RUR about the robot takeover or the AI takeover. Karel is credited for coming up with the word robot, but it was actually Josef who suggested this word to him. Karel wanted to name robot labor, labor, from the word labor, but Josef said, no, robot sounds much better. And I think we all can agree that it does. Josef Čapek was arrested shortly after the start of the war. He was persecuted by the Nazis even before that. And he died in the concentration camp not long before the end of the war. He was also himself author. Everybody here, all the Czech people, will remember the beautiful stories of cat and dog. And he was a prolific painter. I encourage you to look up Josef Čapek's paintings online. The children, or young adults, I have to say, of the T.G. Masaryk Czech School will read to you a poem called Paintings from the collection of poems titled The Poems from the Concentration Camp. That's where Josef Čapek wrote them.
Josef Čapek. Obrazy. Tak modrý jako ta obloha. Tak modrý obraz chtěl bych udělat. Jaký jsou modré dětské hry, jak domova kouř modraví. Tak jako radost nebo štěstí bývají. Modré květy poměnek, modré jak drozdův popěvek. Když kosatce a zvonky rozkvětou, též mnohé písně modré jsou. Má milá měla stuhu takovou. Některé vody za jasného dne jsou také takto modře průhledné. Modré tak jako co se vábně tají, v dáli z níž veselé se hlasy ozývají. Jako ty lesy, v kterých by se chtěl toulat, tak jako mír a pohoda a soulad, a jako srdečnost a dobromyslnost, a jako roztomilost, sympatie, pěl dávných vzpomínek též modraví je. Jak modrásek jenž nad jetelem poletuje, obraz jak nebe, na kterým bílé mráčky plavou. Modrý jak nebe se nad mojí hlavou, to nebe opilé jsou azurovou slávou.
A ještě jeden obraz bych chtěl udělat. Na něj by věnce byly kytice, jen a jen z růží. Nejvíc by bylo růžích červených a bílých. Ano, jen těch a pak už žádných jiných. Než jenom růže bílé, růže červené, tak rudé jako náhlá radost je. Bílé jak barva míru. Pokoj, červené jako jásot. Bílé jako jisté zase ticho. Zboží štěstí. Nachové jako lásky žár, tak jako touha. Bílé jako toužení, splnění, spásy. Však radosti, ty právě tam a žal by všude tomu z růží prosvítal. Mezi nimi by byly vymalovány radosti života a zase jeho rány. Milé vzpomínky, ale též hrozné děje. Štěstí a nebezpečí, zoufalost, hore a zla vrcholného. Zase líbeznost žití člověčského. Co něha míru je a co je válka běs. To vše by na sobě ten obraz nes. Co vlastní úděl byl, to dál děj proud. To všechno bych tam též chtěl obsahnout. Ve scénách, které dokola by byly ověnčeny růžemi, jak jsem snil o nich ve vězení.
Paintings by Josef Čapek. As blue as that sky, as blue as a painting I would like to paint. The blue of children's games, the blue of the smoke of home. As blue as joy or elation are sometimes. Blue like the flowers of forget-me-nots, as blue as the thrush's song, when irises and bluebells bloom. Many songs are also blue. My beloved had a ribbon that shade. Some waters on a clear day are also transparent blue like that. As blue as what is sweetly hidden in the distance from where the cheerful voices ring, like forests in which I'd like to roam, like peace and comfort and harmony, and geniality and good-heartedness and agreeability, affection. Bluish too is the haze of old memories, a blue butterfly flitting above clover, as the sky over which white clouds float, as blue as the heavens above my head, that sky drunk on its own azure splendor.
And one more painting I would like to paint, with garlands, posies, made of roses only and nothing else. Most would be red roses and white. Yes, only those and no others. Only white roses, roses red. As scarlet as sudden joy. As white as the color of peace, solace, calm. Red as jubilance. White as quiet, thankful, pious bliss. Purple as love's heat, as yearning. White as fulfillment's, redemption's longing. White like constancy, scarlet as burning passion. Like blood red, inflamed determination. Then, in great glory, gathered as one, like a shout of joy and the giving of thanks, for fulfillment of the most fervent wishes, and like a celebration, a festivity for one and all. After many cruel trials and tribulations, indeed, it would be as if all the joys and sorrows gazed out from the roses, and in amongst them would be painted the joys of life and equally its wounds. Thank you.
Thank you so much to the. Oh, I get one too. Oh, thank you. Thank you. Thank you, TG Masaryk Czech School students, for making us proud. And now to introduce our special guest speaker, I would like to welcome to the podium Vera Wild. Vera Wild does not really need an introduction. Those of you who have been coming here will know Vera as the former president of the Czechoslovak American Congress. Vera continues to serve to the community in countless ways. She's now the educational director of Sokol Spirit, the secretary of the CSA Lodge Lincoln, and supervisor of Riverside Township. And if you need any work translated, any documents translated from Czech to English, English to Czech, Vera is here to help you with that as well. And Vera will introduce today's speaker because she has a personal connection with the organization that he represents as well. So please help me welcome Vera Wild.
Thank you very much. So there's always a backstory before you introduce someone. In this case, our next speaker is a representative of the People in Need Foundation, Člověk v tísni. This is not a new organization in the minds of the Czechs of the Chicago area community, or actually of the Czechs in the United States. 29 years ago, in July of 1997, there were millennial floods in Moravia. Much of Central Europe had a lot of flooding, but there were towns like Troubky in the Czech Republic, which were incredibly devastated. When we caught word of that here in the Chicago community, we thought then, as the Czechoslovak American Congress and CSA Fraternal Life, both of which I happen to have been president of at the time, we realized that we needed to help. And we had a history of raising funds for joint purposes. The Czechoslovak American Congress was a coalition of Czech and Slovak organizations that worked together on issues that none of us could do alone. So we thought we needed to get into some kind of support of the people of Moravia. And lo and behold, a representative of People in Need reached out. They had heard about the Czechs in Chicago. And indeed, we were able to raise around $30,000 in a very short time. It just so happened that I already had plans that summer to go to the Czech Republic on a visit with my husband and son. We were going there in August. And between that July 7th, when the devastation occurred, and mid-August, or the second week in August when we left town, the Czech community had managed to raise $30,000. I had the great honor at the time to meet with representatives of people in need. And they, in fact, at the time were a newer organization. The Czechs, after decades of communism, were just learning to have NGOs, or non-governmental organizations, that would do foundation kind of work. This organization happened to have been a subsidiary, or the charitable arm of Czech TV at the time. So we had the pleasure of visiting with them at their Czech TV headquarters, and they offered us a trip to Moravia to see the devastation. Just this morning, I pulled out my album from that trip, and it was incredible how badly that area was hit. I have pictures in churches where the water line was this high, having rushed through there. Homes completely leveled, or parts of them just drifted away. There's a picture of my husband on a bridge. You can't even tell that there was ever a river underneath it because there's so many trees and branches coming right up to the bridge. But this People in Need Foundation was instrumental in helping those people, and we were very proud to be able to be part of it. We also, because they had a connection as Czech TV, had the privilege of going to the U.S. Embassy in Prague to present a facsimile check of that donation. And the whole thing was televised. And who knew, here, if there's a presentation like that, you have a 5-second blip on the evening news. What I didn't know was that the entire ceremony was televised all over the Czech Republic. And the following week, when we went to visit relatives in a more remote part outside of Prague, there were people who looked at me who had never met me and said, "I've seen you on TV." Who knew? Anyway, the People in Need Foundation has been an incredible organization around the world. And today's speaker is Tim Jenkins, who is an Illinois native and an international development and humanitarian practitioner with more than 15 years of experience working across Asia, Europe, and the Middle East. His career has included service with the United States Peace Corps, the United Nations, the international organization People in Need, also known as PIN or PIN, where he has worked alongside governments, civil society organizations, community leaders, and affected populations to address some of the world's most pressing challenges. Throughout his career, Tim has supported initiatives ranging from human rights and peace building to climate action, humanitarian response, and social inclusion. His work has taken him to communities that continue to live with the legacy of conflict, atrocity, and displacement, including Cambodia, Myanmar, Bosnia, Kosovo, and Gaza. In these contexts, he has witnessed both the devastating consequences of hatred, violence, and division, as well as the extraordinary resilience of individuals and communities determined to build a more peaceful future. Today, Tim serves with PIN as the director of the newly established U.S. office. People in Need, with a headquarters in Prague, is one of Europe's largest humanitarian and human rights organizations. His work continues to focus on building partnerships that advance human dignity, protect vulnerable communities, and support the belief that remembrance is not only an act of honoring the past, but also a responsibility to future generations. Guided by the principle of never again, he remains committed to helping create a world where understanding, solidarity, and respect for human rights prevail over intolerance and violence. It is my pleasure to introduce Tim Jenkins.
Is it still morning? If it is, good morning. If not, good afternoon. Ladies and gentlemen, Vera, thank you so much for the warm introduction. And thank you to all the honorable guests that are here today. Before I begin, I would like to express my sincere gratitude to the organizers of today's memorial, particularly Clara and Arena, for their friendship, encouragement, and support for my work here in the United States. Thank you as well for the invitation to join you in honoring the memory of the people of Lidice. Over the past several weeks, I have spent a great deal of time thinking about what I wanted to say here today. Standing before you at a memorial dedicated to the people of Lidice is both a privilege and an honor. As was mentioned in my introduction, I work for People in Need, or PIN, one of the world's largest humanitarian organizations. While we're headquartered in Prague, we also work in more than 40 countries across the globe. Each morning I wake up, I receive updates from my colleagues and partners from across the world. Depending on the day, those briefings may come from Sudan, Myanmar, Gaza, Ukraine, or the Democratic Republic of the Congo. My inbox, my emails, are a daily reminder that human suffering, conflict, and displacements are not relics of the past. They remain the reality for millions of people today. Throughout my career with the UN and with People in Need, I have worked on human rights, peace building, development, and humanitarian response. I have spent much of my professional life listening to people whose lives have been shaped by conflict, persecution, and injustice. I have spoken with survivors that endured the horrors of the Khmer Rouge in Cambodia. One such survivor, a personal dear friend of mine, escaped death only because a guard recognized him from the same village. He later learned that the guard that had removed him from his detention facility was replaced with a young boy, a fact that has haunted his entire life. I have listened to Bosniak Muslim survivors of Srebrenica, not much older than myself, who still carries the trauma of that event 30 years ago. As a child, he watched his father, brother, and uncle ripped from his family's arms and marched away to be executed for nothing more than their identity and their faith. I have met Ukrainian children who left behind fathers, uncles, and older brothers who stayed to defend their homeland. I have stood recently on the border of Gaza during the humanitarian blockade as I tried to facilitate our access, feeling a profound sense of helplessness as civilians endured profound suffering. And yet, standing before Lidice more recently when I was in the Czech Republic, it hit me differently. Having spent much of my career witnessing the consequences of war, persecution, and human suffering, I assumed I was prepared for what I would feel in Lidice, even for what I feel today. I thought that because of the events in Lidice that happened more than 80 years ago, I would be able to absorb its history as I had with so many others. I was wrong. The story of Lidice affected me far more deeply than I anticipated. Standing in that peaceful field that had once been home to dozens of families, I stopped at the memorial dedicated to the Lidice children. The statues were life-sized. It was like looking into the eyes of my own children. In that moment, I felt an overwhelming sense of sadness and sorrow. But on the way back to Prague, I felt something that I did not expect: anger. Anger and frustration that after more than 80 years, the madness and darkness that consumed Europe have not disappeared. They continue. When we look around the world today, we still see the consequences of hatred, dehumanization, and the deliberate targeting of civilians. We witness attacks on communities. We witness attacks on humanitarian workers, including my colleagues and friends, risking their lives to help others. We witness attacks on journalists. We see efforts to erase cultures, silence voices, and deny people their fundamental rights. And yet, I personally see extraordinary courage every day. My colleagues in Ukraine, who I spoke with yesterday, are still willing to get on a call with me to discuss their work, even as literal air raid sirens and missiles fly overhead. Teachers we partner with in Gaza, to Syria, Afghanistan, to Sudan, continue teaching children in some of the most horrific conditions you can imagine. In Bosnia, I personally worked alongside Muslims, Jews, Catholics, and Orthodox Christians who strive to build lasting peace in the face of political rhetoric designed to divide them. And perhaps most humbling of all, I have met survivors of political persecution, tortured human rights defenders, survivors of genocide, and ordinary people who have endured suffering and yet still remain deeply committed to making this world a better place. I am reminded daily that the difference between hatred and humanity is never made once, and it's a choice, and it's made every day. The destruction of Lidice was intended to erase an entire community. The Nazis sought to destroy not only homes and lives, but the memory itself. This is what makes Lidice different. As I reflect on my experience in Lidice and look around today, I have realized that this is what makes Lidice so powerful. Lidice refused to disappear. The people of Czechoslovakia, the Czech and Slovak people today, and all of us gathered here refuse to forget. And in doing so, Lidice has become something far greater than those responsible for its destruction could have ever imagined. It has become a symbol remembered around the world. As Vera mentioned, the organization I serve, People in Need, traces part of our inspiration and our values through the story of Lidice and what it represents. Our founder and CEO, my boss, Shimon Panik, was a student leader of the Velvet Revolution in 1989. When I reflect on his history and this history, I see a through line connecting the tragedy of Lidice, the violent suppression of freedom during the Soviet-led invasion of Czechoslovakia in 1968, and then to the peaceful Velvet Revolution that ultimately restored democracy and human rights for Czechs and Slovaks. Those are not isolated events. They are part of a continuing story about the defense of human rights, freedom, and the willingness to stand firm against injustice. This story ultimately has helped shape our values at People in Need. Last year alone, People in Need provided direct assistance to nearly 4 million people across the globe. We supported close to 2,000 human rights defenders that live under the most oppressive regimes on the planet. You can imagine Belarus, Venezuela, Vietnam. We also mobilized more than 180,000 people across the Czech Republic and Europe through the One World Film Festival. It's the world's largest human rights film festival anywhere in the world, where generations continue to learn about injustice, human dignity, and the responsibility we all share in taking action to protect our rights. In the wake of the horrific tragedy, Lidice was not erased. Its story endured, its memory, as we can see here, has endured, and its legacy has inspired countless people to dedicate their lives every day to building a better world. But remembrance is not enough. If we truly wish to honor the people of Lidice, then our remembrance must be matched by the willingness to act. We must speak out against injustice. We must stand up and defend the rights of others. We often repeat the phrase, never again. And yet, if I'm honest, I really do struggle with these words. Not because I disagree with them, but because our current reality continues to challenge them. We do not need to look only at history. Look at the world today. Too often, we continue to witness hatred, persecution, and war, and the deliberate targeting of civilians. Too often, we continue to fail. And yet, I believe the value of never again is not the promise is not that it is the promise we've already fulfilled. It is the responsibility that we must continue striving towards it. Every generation must teach it, every generation must choose it, and every generation must defend it. Throughout my career, whether working in Cambodia, Bosnia, Kosovo, Palestine, Israel, Ukraine, or elsewhere, I have learned that peace is not something we achieve once and then keep it forever. Peace requires work. Peace requires sacrifice. Peace requires commitment to building a world for future generations, a world that many of us may never live to see ourselves. The people of Lidice cannot speak to us today, but their story does. And as we gather here to honor them, let us do more than remember. Let us honor them by doing the difficult work of building peace. Let us honor them by defending human rights wherever they are threatened. Let us honor them by ensuring that future generations inherit a world that is more just, more peaceful, more humane than the one we inherited. So that one day, perhaps not for our generation, but for our children's generation, humanity may finally be able to live the words, "Never again." Thank you.
Thank you so much, Tim. I would now like to welcome the Moravian singers here, but this year, before we hear the selection of the songs that they prepared for this occasion, I would also like to welcome the president of the United Moravian Societies, Denise Kadlček-Marek, to help us remember a beloved member of the Moravian singers who you could still see and hear here last year and who left us just a few months ago. Although she is no longer with us, her presence and dedication to this tradition remain very much a part of this gathering, and she is deeply missed. And Denise, if you could share a few words about Ms. Bučková with us. Thank you.
Hello, everyone. Beautiful day today. Very happy that we have a cloud above us at the moment to take away some of the heat. I would like to say I'm honored to be here today representing United Moravian Societies, acknowledging, remembering the tragedy of Lidice, the first of many towns and many lives taken and destroyed in Czechoslovakia by the German forces during World War II. Today, as many years prior, the United Moravian Society singers are here under the direction of Blanka Hertz to present our Czech, Slovak, and U.S. anthems. Also, some heartfelt songs from our homeland. This year is one of the first years without Libby Buček, one of our dear members, who held the history of the Czech Republic very dear to her. She enjoyed sharing history. She enjoyed songs. She wanted to make sure that generations to come understood what was happening and why they had the ability to stand here today. If you look at our group, we have a very wide range of ages and generations, all understanding what came before us, and the honor to be able to stand here and appreciate what we've been given. Many of you may know these songs coming up, and if we do encourage you to please sing along with us. Thank you very much.
Say Naše písničky jsou jaky perličky, naší ruce navlečené. Tolik je krásy v nich a je to velký hřích, že jsou tak utlačené. A naše písnička česká, ta je tak hezká, tak jako na louce kytička, vyrostla ta naše písnička. Až se ta písnička ztratí, pak už nic nebude mít. Jestli nám zahyne, všechno s ním pomine, potom už nebudem žít. Zpívejte, lidičky, ty naše písničky, z Moravy Slovenska Čech. Ta naše písnička je sice prostička, ale je nejlepší všech. Ta naše písnička česká, ta je tak hezká, tak jako na louce kytička, vyrostla ta naše písnička. Až se ta písnička ztratí, pak už nic nebude mít. Jestli nám zahyne, všechno s ním pomine, potom už nebudem žít.
Thank you so much, Denise, and thank you so much for being here to the United Moravian Society's singers. And now, to offer our closing remarks, please welcome Cecilia Rokusek, the President and CEO of the National Czech and Slovak Museum and Library in Cedar Rapids.
Ďakujem veľmi pekne. It's always difficult to give the closing remarks after such wonderful speakers, but let me say two things before I get started. First of all, let me thank the wonderful organizers, Tina and the whole group here at Crest Hill, and the Thomas Massey Grad School and Sokol, and all of you. I don't want to miss anyone. All of you for coming. You know, we at the National Museum have one very strong statement. We must preserve the past so the future does not happen again. And we must also teach our young people, and that is so incredibly important. So I'm pleased that the young people are involved, because we have a rich, rich history, and our cultures, the Czech and Slovak cultures, are so incredibly rich. We must preserve them. And when we think of the atrocities of Lidice, we thought, well, 84 years later, we shouldn't have any world problems. And you heard Tim articulate so well the many world problems we do have, and the challenges we have throughout this world. And so have we learned a lot? I'm not really sure, but I want to make sure that we never forget who we are and this wonderful monument. There are only two monuments like this in the United States. One is in Phillips, Wisconsin, and this one here in Crest Hill. So it's really important, they're agreeing with me, the United States, that we do preserve them, because this is something, you don't have to be Czech or Slovak to understand what happened at Lidice. So it's important that we keep that. So as we gather today, I call this a sacred place to remember a village that no longer stands and a people whose voices were nearly extinguished. Lidice was small, but its name has become immense. It echoes across continents, across generations, and across the world. They thought Lidice would die, but Lidice did not die. And because of monuments like this, and because of the one in Phillips, Wisconsin, and others, we will make sure it never dies, because the world refused to let it die, and we are refusing to let it die. Across oceans, people who have heard of this village speak of its name. Cities have adopted Lidice orphans. You heard Ashley talk about her family. Communities refused to forget. Artists, writers, and leaders still today talk about Lidice. Here we do in Crest Hill, Illinois. We do all across this nation. Thousands of miles from Lidice in the Czech Republic now. This monument is not only a memorial, it's a declaration that memory is stronger than violence and that truth outlives tyranny. We must remember. As we reflect on Lidice, we also ask, what is the legacy and what is the legacy demand of each and every one of us here today? I outlined some take-home messages, just 3, but I hope that you will take them home with you. Lidice teaches us that hatred left unchecked can escalate with horrifying and terrific speed and be devastating. The destruction of a village began with a dehumanization of a people. In our own time, when disinformation spreads quickly, as we sometimes see, when prejudice resurfaces in new forms, and when authoritarianism gains footholds, we must be vigilant, and silence is never acceptable. Secondly, Lidice should remind us of the power of global solidarity. People around the world, miners in Wales, schoolchildren in Mexico, communities across the United States, must all be reminded of what a world in disarray can produce. We must rise together to remember and say that this can never happen again going forth. Thirdly, Lidice, and this is one that's very important, challenges us to honor the dignity of every person and every child, most especially. The children of Lidice were targeted because they represented the future. Remember what I said at the beginning? We must prepare for the future. Our responsibility is to build a world where every child, regardless of nationality, faith, or circumstances, can grow and learn and never be brought into another society because of their blue eyes and blonde hair. And finally, Lidice teaches us that remembrance is an act of resistance by itself. When we speak the name of Lidice, we defy those who try to erase it. When we gather here, we affirm that history cannot be rewritten by those who committed such atrocities. When we teach future generations, we ensure that the seeds of hatred have no fertile ground to grow on. Today, we stand before this monument. We honor not only those who lost their lives, but also those who rebuilt this city today, and those who bore witness and those who continue to remember, such as all of you. May the memory of Lidice strengthen our resolve to defend human dignity no matter where we are. May it inspire us to confront injustice wherever it appears. And may it remind us that even in the darkest moments of life, humanity can choose compassion over cruelty, courage over fear, and truth over silence. Yes, indeed, because of you, Lidice lives. Here in our hearts and in our commitment to a more just and, as Tim would say, peaceful world, we must never, ever forget. It will live on in our hearts, and we will have a better world if we make some of the changes that we talk about. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Cecilia. And as we conclude today's commemoration, before we invite the American Sokol Guards Josh to retire the colors, I would like to once again thank you all for being here with us. I would like to thank the City of Crest Hill, Alderwoman Tina Oberlin, Mayor Solomon, Angel Cadena, Blaine Wing, Don Seaman, Gary Richardson, the Director of the Public Works of the City of Crest Hill, for their special attention to preparing the park for today's ceremonies. Special thanks once again to Rob Carter for his ongoing stewardship of the park. Also, special thanks to all our speakers and to the participants, to Moravian singers, TG Masaryk Czech School kids, and American Sokol. And last but not least, big thanks to the Parchi family who got up really early this morning to bake the traditional Czech pastries that you are just about to try over at the stands. Teddy, may I ask you? Thank you.
Close. Close. Hands. One step back. March. Forward. Please.